Hello, welcome to today's choice event. And also from my side, I know it's a little bit late, third week into the year, but Happy New Year and welcome to 2024 and also our first choice event in this new year after our New Year and Christmas holiday break. I hope you had a wonderful time and you made it, maybe also through the reporting time already. Some of you might be very busy. And therefore, even more, I'm happy to have you here today for our lunch break, where we typically look into best practices of climate transformation and what's helping you getting forward on that transition to net zero. And before I go right into the webinar, maybe for everyone who is new here and who doesn't know the setup of the webinars first, I'm going to introduce that and then we can afterwards start right into it. So first of all, you see we have a webinar set up so you can see me and hear me, and I don't see you and do not hear you. But that doesn't mean that we do not want you to be very active and participate. So the first one would be the first option how you can do that is the chat, or better the Q&A function, which you have either on the bottom or on the top of your setup in Zoom. And we very much invite you the whole time to put your questions here. And maybe you already want to comment also what other people wrote. And then we're going to collect that and in the end answer them all together in our Q&A. And to make sure that you have found that option, I invite you now to drop down your name and from where you are listening. So for me, that would be, I'm Lara. I'm here in the snowy Berlin. We have a wonderful time, even though it's very slippery. And I welcome you very much. So I see the first person is Wolfram from Wiesbaden, who dared to make the first step. And then Klaus from Philadelphia, nice. And let's see if there are some more who dare to share. Great, Jörg from Munich. So now you have seen where I invite you to share comments and please introduce yourself to the others. And then also we have a second option, because this 1 hour is typically very short. With the invitation to the webinar, you also got a link to our Slack community, and you are very welcome to join there. And also after the webinar, stay in contact, find out about climate news and share your own experiences and questions. And why are we doing the choice events? As said, we are sitting in Berlin and that's a climate choice. We are a tech company helping companies to transition to net zero. And what we mean by that is really focusing on emission reduction, because we all know the shortcut of maybe offsetting or whatever other terms you use to come towards climate neutral. That's just not enough. And we are seeing that thankfully more and more that it's becoming really the understanding of the market and customers and investors and so on. So we really help companies to understand where they stand in their transition and also engage their suppliers on getting active with them together, because really emission reduction needs to happen in the supply chain where most of the emissions come from. And that's why we are super excited to introduce you also today to our Scope 3 action group that we have created last year, the first time at our annual summit, the Climate Transformation Summit, where typically around 5 up to 1,000 people come together online to really find out best practices, how to reduce emissions. And there is where we created it last year. And we're going to share many more informations about that soon. But before doing so, and before I invite our CEO Jascha on stage to do that, I have 1 or 2 questions for you. So that you also have, again, the chance to be active and to introduce a little bit more yourself. So I have to find it. My first question would be, Now I don't find it actually. Then I have to ask it that way and you put it in the chat. So maybe, my first question would be, where do you stand right now in terms, no, it's showing me the wrong question. Where do you stand in terms of climate transformation? So maybe you want to put that in the chat. Have you already done a CO2 calculation for Scope 3? Have you engaged your suppliers? Do you take any measures or actions already to reduce emissions? So maybe these three things, either you can type in the word calculation Scope 3 or supply chain engagement or taking actions. So maybe just to find out from the people listening in which area you are standing right now. And I'm gonna wait to see the first answers. There's no right and wrong. Who dares to share where they are standing right now or what they are tackling? Greta says, we calculate Scope 3, but we do not engage yet suppliers. So that's a first impression. Is there someone else who can share where they stand or maybe what's the next big step that they're planning for this year? I'm gonna wait for a while. And if not, I know it's a very sensitive topic, and we're going to talk more about it. Richard is also similar. So probably they have done already their calculation, but have to figure out how to move forward with that. And then Jörg as well, and they are transitioning towards creating an action plan. Great. That gives me already a good introduction, which is, that companies, what we see in the market, very much struggle to get from that one maybe very measurable and manageable topic of CO2 calculation towards action. And that's where I would want to invite Jascha on stage and see what he has to share. And first of all, what are your impressions in that area? Where do you think companies stand right now? What do we hear mostly in the market?
Yeah. First of all, hi everyone. Really happy to be here, and also wish you a belated kind of like Happy New Year. And I think, it's very interesting because I think this is pretty much also what we see in the market a lot. A lot of companies either are now have calculated their Scope 3 emissions, but now looking for ways to actually take action and decarbonize by engaging suppliers and getting more specific data from suppliers to improve their calculations. So pretty much mirrors what we also see in the market, but also don't worry if you're not there yet. There's as well a lot of companies that haven't calculated Scope 3 emissions yet. And it's something that depending on industry, depending on company size, depending on a lot of topics, I think differs a lot between companies. So really great to see that you're all here and that you want to take action. And looking forward to tell you more about our group today.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a very important sentence already in the beginning, right? What we see, most people are really afraid to tackle the whole topic Scope 3 and even are maybe even afraid to talk about it, where they stand. And everyone kind of has a feeling that the others must do so much more. But then the reality is really like we are all in the beginning. And that's what the Scope 3 group, again, is about. I would leave the stage to you, Jascha. I will follow the Q&A, so please put all your questions there. Maybe if I can answer quickly things, I will do that already. And then the rest we take later to the Q&A. So I stop sharing, and then stage is yours.
So let me quickly put the So I
full
hope
screen.
My full screen. Yes, works.
Looks good. Yes.
Great. Then thanks a lot. As mentioned, really great that you're all here, and really happy to present you actually what we're doing in the Scope 3 Action Group. We are now running the second batch, actually. So we've done this the first time last year with 14 different companies across industries, also across maturity levels. So this is really for everyone that wants to start taking action, no matter where they stand. And it's really about educating, about networking, peer exchange with other people, but also implementing actions right away. And we have an application deadline because the program starts in March, and this is end of February. And also, we're doing the Scope 3 action group again with great partners, MyClimate, the V4 Institute, and the AMC Group. And yeah, before we start into the program again, and I think like this is something that we always, start with the why, right? Why do we take Scope 3 action? What is going on, in the market? What are the drivers? And I mean, like we see it every year increasing and increasing, both due to regulations, but also to for other stakeholder reasons. More and more companies are committing or setting toward to set climate targets. This number has increased. There are now more than 7,000 companies that have set science-based targets via the Science-Based Targets Initiative, and it's the largest companies in the world. So of course, there's more and more buyers that take action and also want their suppliers to take action. And why is that the case? Of course, this is also or known or not known, but definitely something that is becoming more and more a topic. Yesterday, I was at a conference where someone said Scope 3 is the beast, right? Scope 1 and 2 is something that is of course where everybody starts, but Scope 3, because it's so indirectly influenceable, is really something that is really a challenge, especially because supply chain emissions are so much higher than all other emissions. So they can account for average 85% of emissions. Of course, this depends by industry and by the business model of companies, but it's really something that all companies are looking at and how to tackle, because it's the biggest impact on CO2 emissions. And with that, of course, thinking about Scope 3 and specifically about where the bulk of Scope 3 emissions are often, which is Scope 3.1, products and services that companies buy. Really thinking about Scope 3 is really that every buying decision is a climate decision. BCG and CDP did a study on how or where the Scope 3 emissions are coming from, and you can see, or like what the Scope 3 emission share, the upstream Scope 3 emission share is coming from, and you can see the further we go into end products and industries that distribute the products, the further or the more emissions come from the value chain, from the supply chain, from the upstream supply chain, and with raw materials. It of course depends also by the production processes, but of course it's more different. So we optimize the whole world, of course, on having every player our part in the value chain. And this is now kind of like where we need to tackle the optimization. And why is it also urgent to act now? I'm sure you also, if you're in the European Union, you've also might have heard about, of course, CSRD. Even if your company is not doesn't meet the thresholds, maybe you're a supplier to a company that needs to report under CSRD. And get requested to take climate action. So basically, it really affects this regulatory change affects companies all over the world, and it's really urgent to act now because companies, the mandatory reporting starts in 2024. So in 2025, companies need to report for 2024. But there's also other regulations on the horizon that also demand supply chain decarbonization actions, which is the CBAM and also the CSDDD, and it's really something that is accelerating the whole topic very much, and of course that's why also a lot of companies now taking action. And with that, just a little bit back towards on Scope 3 calculation. This is the guideline from the Greenhouse Gas Protocol on Scope 3.1 about different calculation methods, and this is maybe also background for folks that haven't started to calculate Scope 3 emissions yet, but typically becomes a topic once you have a first calculation done. You typically use average data, either spend-based method, so you're taking economic emission factors and using your spend to derive the emissions, or an activity based emission factors based on processes. But then you want to get more and more specific, because if we would calculate kind of like always with an average price, we couldn't kind of like differentiate between, for example, to products, to suppliers, etc. So what companies are looking for is, first of all, getting more specific, so they understand more the differences of companies and suppliers and products. And this is also what's driving the action downwards the supply chain. However, there is, of course, often the question, right, when we speak to companies, is about emissions data, right? Okay, everybody wants to have ideally product level data from their suppliers. There's more and more big companies that have automated processes to provide product level data. However, a lot of companies are only starting out, especially the companies that might not have this issue so kind of like since years, but only started. They might be smaller suppliers. They might be suppliers in geographies where the topic is not regulate, or kind of where there's not a regulatory reason to act yet. However, really, and this is key, your climate targets are at risk if your suppliers are not aligned with your ambitions, right? If you're kind of like waiting for them to have the perfect data, then it might be too late, right, to optimize and work with them, right? And this is a really crucial point, I think, and I heard also a good quote around that. I mean, perfect is the enemy of good, right? And it's always important to start addressing the problem, so you can actually make progress now, and really also support companies to get there and communicate your ambitions with your suppliers. And this is what we've done also in the Scope 3 Action Group 2023. So we've engaged around 1,500 suppliers during the course of the last actually 3-4 months with the group, across different industries, across different company sizes. And you can see here what I've just mentioned, right? A lot of companies are really at the beginning, right? Here it's 76% of companies that have not calculated their own Scope 1 and 2 emissions. They have not set targets yet, but also then there's 20% of companies that have done so. And this is really important to understand also for your own supplier base, to really start prioritizing and thinking about, okay, which suppliers can I work with in what way, in order to drive down emissions, because some companies that are doing a lot because they have to, maybe there's less work needed in comparison to the companies that have not started yet. And now want to go into what we're actually doing in the Scope 3 group. So the Scope 3 group is really a learning, as mentioned, a networking and implementation program. So we have actually built 3 distinct modules to kind of like, first of all, bring everybody, no matter where you stand, to a same understanding what is kind of like what is climate data, right? Not only emissions, but also other topics, right, that need to report it, need to be reported for climate transformation and transitioning to a low carbon economy. And we have engaged suppliers, or we're engaging suppliers. Of course, this is always up to the companies if they want to take part in this or not. And then from that results, we really develop an action roadmap. So this is really how we address the issues of companies not understanding their their suppliers yet, and really moving very fast forward to kind of like accelerate the process to work with their suppliers. And the whole program also is, as mentioned, supported by our experts and partners, which is first of all MyClimate. They're a climate consultancy NGO from Switzerland. They're doing a master class on actually Scope 3 climate target setting, and then the WIFOR Institute, which is a company that also does a lot of Scope 3 calculations for companies. They also do other research, but specifically they work with large enterprises to calculate Scope 3 emissions. And then also our partner AMC Group, they are a procurement consultancy that really is focused on sustainable procurement practices, and they will share their knowledge and practical examples on how to integrate actually information and decarbonization measures into your procurement processes. So as mentioned, the whole program is really targeted to accelerate and help you make progress on your individual status. So the program really, the target is to equip you with knowledge, with peer exchange. We do individual coaching with each company. We do master classes. We do networking sessions and workshops. So last year we've, for example, have been in Berlin, and the participants came together, and we had a really great workshop and exchange. And that is really the focus. As Lara mentioned, right? Scope 3 is really the largest problem for companies, and it's really important to share, learnings with each other, and that's what we want to facilitate and support with that program. And how the program is structured. It is really, focused on learning online and really learning in online sessions, which we run over the course of the 4 months, and then transferring really the knowledge individually in your team. So as mentioned, it really does not matter where you stand in your Scope 3 action and progress. It's really focused on helping you, giving you the information that you need at your current stage. And all of the modules, so the module 1 is about, as mentioned, climate management and data, the module 2 about supplier engagement, and the module 3 then about developing a reduction roadmap. They're all modules have part of course, education, networking, and also implementation. The first module about climate management, we're really looking deep into, okay, what is actually climate data? So as mentioned, of course, it's important to calculate emissions in Scope 3 and get emissions data and becoming better and better. But also it's important to understand, what other metrics and information can we look like if the suppliers might be not there yet, right? So we look at frameworks for reporting that also inform the CSRD reporting, for example, the TCFD, Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, which is now part of the ISSB. We look at standards for emission calculation, of course, greenhouse gas protocol, but also into how can product level data can be shared. Of course, this is then, for example, the Pathfinder framework, and also looking at science-based targets. And then, as mentioned, networking is a really core part of the group. So we'll have exchange between, of course, the experts that are there, but also the peers that are, of course, also experts, because they're doing their day-to-day job what you might need to do, and maybe you have done something that others can learn from. So really, it's about exchange and about bringing the group also together. And then last but not least, we also support you with implementation and tools. We have developed an agile learning program. So really it's about, actually learning on the job and learning, to not only, we don't want to give you content, right? We want to help you implement the content and learn while doing what is needed to accelerate your journey. And there we take a also three-step approach. So it really what we provide you with is that you can take advantage from is to analyze really your full supplier maturity during the program. Then prioritizing also based on the data that we gather, an engagement approach in terms of, okay, which suppliers can provide primary data for improving my my reporting and my calculation. But also, how do I work with suppliers that are, only at the beginning and only starting out? And we have developed, based on the group and the learnings that we already made, a master plan template. So this includes basically a strategic paper that helps you to transform, what we're doing in the group into actual, proposition and a roadmap and into prioritization on what you can then actually do or how you can kind of like present and progress in your own company and also share the knowledge in your own teams. And it's really an improvement cycle that we want to support with that. So really improving, of course, on data quality, but also really on meeting your Scope 3 targets and doing progress there. Yeah, you will also get access to our tools. So as Lara mentioned in the beginning, we are a technology provider. So we're supporting different companies, not only in the Scope 3 group, but also in other contexts with gathering supplier-specific data and helping them to answer questions. What percentage, for example, of my suppliers can provide, emissions data on company or on a product level? What's also the quality of that data? Which suppliers are setting targets and how do they progress towards those targets, and what decarbonization measures have they already implemented? And we have already, and that's what you get access to during the group, more than 40,000 supplier data profiles on our platform that can be, requested access to, and also you can, of course, then utilize during the course of the program. And also, of course, an important question on how does the timeline look? So in terms of dates and program overview, the application deadline and why, maybe also a question that we often get, why is there an application? The application is there because we want to make sure we speak with every company. We really find out, is the program something that can help you move forward? Also, of course, we need to look at, in terms of the whole group, that it's really companies that are taking this seriously and that we can support. So we speak to every company. So when you apply, we will reach out to you, and of course we'll have a get to know each other call very in time, and the deadline for this is the 29th of February. And then you can use also the time then until the start of the program to prepare and do stakeholder alignment. We help you, answer key questions around that. And then the kickoff will be held on mid of March in Berlin in person. And don't worry if you cannot join a kickoff and in person in Berlin, but everything else and the key content will be also held online. And you can also get the presentations after the presentation afterwards. You can also download the information from our website if you want to see all the dates in detail. And then the program's ending in June with a final seminar and get together in Berlin again. And there we then, share our learnings, share our, roadmaps, and have more opportunities also to network. And Also, a question that typically gets asked is about confidentiality. So we sign NDAs with each and every participant in every company. So we make sure, first of all, there's no conflict of interests between the participants, but also that every participant can share, confidentially, or can speak, openly, of course, without sharing confidential information. But like really, we want to make sure everybody has a good feeling about being in the group, about sharing what they do and what they learn, because it's a confidential setting. And then also about how can you take part? We have a pricing set up by company size. So it's based on how many employees a company has, and this includes all and everything what I've presented today. So it includes the program participation, including all the learning content, and templates and master plan template. You will join the seminars in Berlin and also the online sessions. You get individual support and tutorials where we answer your questions and help you with your specific questions and situations. There will be networking and exchange possibilities. You will also get certification from us that you participated in the program, and you even get also access to our software platform, as mentioned. That you really can kind of like get the most out of the program, also with really practical information and insights. And yeah, with that, I think I want to just highlight, okay, why join the Scope 3 group action now in 2024? As mentioned, a lot of companies need to make progress. We want to help accelerate this and have made really good experience with the first group. It's knowledge building about really Scope 3 group and Scope 3 data and decarbonization of the value chain. A lot of companies already have, if you have a specific person, for example, starting out in procurement around, decarbonization, this is something that a lot of companies, for example, now have, would be someone, for example, to join and to kind of like at the intersection of, climate management, but also procurement. So it's really the differences, or kind of like we want to also foster that exchange and help establishing a mutual knowledge base. We help you establish and implement your own supplier climate program. You also can benchmark your own climate management, and of course, this also from your suppliers. You get access to software, to the software tools and the data, and you will expand, of course, your own network, right? And can build your mutual, support peer group. Of course, this, as mentioned, will be concluded as a certificate. And also, a lot of companies, of course, report their Scope 3 actions in their sustainability reports, and specifically around building transition plans. It's also important to communicate what do you do to align your supply chain on your climate targets and around 1.5 degree goals. So with that, we hope you want to apply and join the Scope 3 Action Group. We already have a couple first participants, and are really excited to kick off the next program. And you can go to our website, find out more, and download the documents there. But you can also reach out directly to us. We're happy to set up a call and answer your specific question. As mentioned, the deadline is 29th of February. So please make sure that you apply before the deadline. And we're really happy to meet you and looking forward to hopefully work together on helping you reaching your Scope 3 goal in 2024. And with that, I'm super happy to take questions. I've seen there were a couple questions, or they were already maybe
Happy to go into that. So first of all, Jascha, thanks for walking us through and inviting to join the next group. I'm also very much looking forward to that. I must say, like, the last group was definitely one, if not the highlight of last year, really seeing companies or decision makers in companies. Basically, it always comes back to a person, driving the topic forward and really working together with others on taking actions. And as said, that would be the time to leave more questions if you have in the comments. Otherwise, I would ask some more for you, Yasha, and also bring up what came in the chat. But yeah, maybe you walked us through these 3 different modules, from climate management to supplier engagement to then decarbonization road mapping. Maybe you can share a little bit, like, because you also said, like, yeah, people are, or we have seen it in the beginning, people are always in a different state. And why do we do these 3 steps? And maybe from which step do you take the most out if you're aware? Or like, how can we have a program that brings together people from different stages also?
Yes, I think, like, first of all, building an alignment of, okay, like, this is also a challenge for us in general when we set up the program. How do we make sure everybody has the same knowledge base in the beginning? And I think that's where we're starting, right? And we want to, align on, what do we mean when we speak about, climate management, climate data. Of course, emissions data is what comes first to mind, right? But there's other topics that you should be aware of, right, and that you might already be aware of. And I think we're doing this in a very practical way, which is also valuable for companies to understand where they stand themselves. We always say, practice what you preach. So if you want to decarbonize your scope 3, your suppliers, and want to work with them, of course, it helps to also see what is your own state, where are you at, and how do I compare, maybe against some standards. And I think this is kind of like where or I don't think, but like, this is where we kick things off and want to bring everyone to a same understanding. Everything is voluntary, right? We don't provide, we don't force anyone to do benchmarking or do anything like that. You can do this, and it helps a lot of companies, but you don't have to. So it's all offers, right? You can take. Same with running the supplier program, right? A lot of companies have now, got a lot of value out to understand, where their suppliers stand, but maybe you're not there yet. And you don't, you cannot do this because of your organization. This is also sometimes challenging, of course, when we work with large enterprises, that there's a lot of decision makers involved in that. So we help kind of like to facilitate that and really make sure, to get the best out of, the program, no matter where you stand. I hope this answers the question and addresses some.
Yeah, maybe what I want to pick out of that is, like, we provide a framework, and then you make your pace going through it. And like, maybe some companies are a little bit quicker, and then others do things slower or in a smaller project. So you mentioned now the supplier engagement, right? Some have really rolled it out to the whole supply chain, involving a few hundreds. And others have done like a test balloon, maybe with 10, 20 top suppliers, where they want to find out, okay, which kind of data comes back, which kind of conversations are sparked if I start now a progress, where I want to, first of all, inform my suppliers that I have climate targets, or I want to introduce climate targets, and I want to learn from them as well, if they have started that progress as well, and if there are any best practices I can learn from them. And that leads automatically to the 3rd module, right? The road mapping. And I think that's what we had already before in the chat already as well. So typically you start with your data management, you start with the calculation, you have your targets, then you engage your suppliers, and then you want to make sense out of it. And we have seen with customers, but then also specifically in the Scope 3 group, that this can be the most overwhelming part, because you need to bring it all together, and you typically have to involve different stakeholders in your company already, maybe different departments. So maybe you can share a little bit more about that journey of road mapping. Like, we all wish to have that silver bullet to solve everything at once, and then we figure out it's a learning process. So how do we support in that module to go into road mapping and next action?
Yeah. So basically, like, we are focused on basically giving data to different departments, right? In our day-to-day work, right? We are working with procurement organizations, but also or departments, and also with the sustainability and climate departments, and enabling them to kind of like speak a same language, or translating basically the language of the climate, right, to procurement, and the other way around is something that we really are focused on at the Climate Choice, and really like we want to help you to bring like bridge that gap, right? This is something that we see across companies, that there's more and more collaboration needed between different departments, and this is really key to us, and this is also what we saw again, right? Like the participants in the group are also from different backgrounds, and were also from different backgrounds last year. So it was folks that are 100% focused on net zero in the supply chain, right? And really their job is decarbonizing the supplier base. But also there were folks from sustainability department, CPOs, and other procurement leaders. So it's really getting that exchange also going. Really, we made the experience that this really helps, and that is also how we bridge the gap to the roadmap, right? So as mentioned, it might be that yeah, different suppliers have the different maturity levels, right? And then how do you now take this information? What do you actually do with the data, right? There's always a question. There's a lot of data gathering, data tools, and so on, but it's really about like how do you make that data actionable? How do you make this usable and really derive decisions from it? And this is our core, not only our core business and our day-to-day work, but really what we do also in the master plan and mapping that out.
Yeah, now you mentioned that some people of the existing group are like very focused on the topic, but then you also said like people, there are also participants who like not every day work on that topic and for whom it's very new. Like for whom would you say is a group, and like do you have to be afraid if you're just in the beginning of tackling the whole topic and you don't have maybe a Scope 3 calculation yet?
Yeah, no, I think starting is the most important part. I think it's always and always, we hear this at all the events, that everybody that just tackles Scope 3, right, says, okay, it's so important to start with that topic, because, if you not start today, you might start next year or the year after, and then you realize, okay, wow, like, why didn't I start before? So, it's really, don't be afraid. It's for everyone, good to start no matter where your knowledge base kind of like is. So as mentioned, that's how we designed the program, to kind of like, get everyone up to speed quickly. And it's for everyone in, as mentioned, procurement, working on that topic or has that topic and wants to learn about that topic and needs to address that topic and needs to also show progress, right, on that topic. But also, as mentioned, for folks that are in sustainability departments and also other departments that are focused on the Scope 3 question. Really, it's yeah, that's what I can share. I hope that came across. Maybe what is interesting as well, I mean, like, we already have participants, right, for this group that are from different industries. So there's engineering companies, there's from chemical industry companies, there's from the food industry companies. So also in terms of industry, we work industry agnostically and work with models that are industry agnostic, and yeah, sometimes we get this question, oh, I'm in this industry, is that something that we can support? And we can say yes, and that's also how it was last year. We had a very diverse group of industries or companies of different industries that can also learn from each other, because like maybe like one industry has made some learnings that the other industry hasn't yet.
Great. Yeah, I feel those are very good closing words. So yeah, it really is an invitation for everyone who wants to start with the topic, or who has already made the first steps, can share also in the group more, and really want to get active in scaling up and rolling out your supplier engagement, and then also find a really good strategy how to tackle the whole path going forward. And yeah, I would thank you, Yasha, a lot for presenting what is awaiting you in the group and what has happened in the last 4 months in the existing group. And yeah, we are very excited to hear from you and happy to answer any further questions. And in a few weeks, we're going to have our next webinar. So check out the website, or we are happy to invite you as well over our newsletter, the Climate News. So with that, have a wonderful afternoon. Maybe enjoy the snow if you are somewhere in Germany. I've also seen people from Brazil. That's maybe not happening over there, or I hope not. But then, yeah, see you in a bit, and keep the good work up for the new year, I would say. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye bye.